Ocean's 8 is a spin-off to the Ocean's film starring an all-female cast that's led up by Sandra Bullock, who plays Debbie Ocean, Danny Ocean's sister. At the start of the film, Debbie Ocean gets released from prison and straight away she wants to set up her own heist, her own job, so she recruits 7 other women to help her do this heist, so now we have our Ocean's film. I watched the first 3 Ocean's films for the first time a couple of weeks ago in preparations for Ocean's 8. I really enjoyed Ocean's 11, but I wasn't so keen on Ocean's 12 or 13, so going to Ocean's 8, I wasn't all that hyped up for it. I just wanted it to entertain me, and the film was okay. All the actors in the film did a pretty good job in their roles. I liked Sandra Bullock as the leader. You can tell that she's from the Ocean's family. I liked how Cate Blanchett went against type and kind of played a laid-back biker chick. That was pretty cool to see. Anne Hathaway was solid. Helena Bonham Carter was solid. Everyone in the film was solid. Even Rihanna wasn't terrible, surprisingly. And all the cast worked well together. They had pretty good chemistry, and you can tell they all had a lot of fun making the film. Now, when I go to see a heist film, I want some really cool heist elements. I want to see them plan the heist thoroughly. I want to see them execute the heist really well. I want there to be twists and turns and really cool revelations about how they did this, that and the other. So did Ocean's 8 have some good heist elements? It had some good ones. There were some good parts to it. This is the 4th film in a heist franchise, so by this time there's not really much they can do that you haven't already seen before. So it does have that going against it, unfortunately. My biggest issue with this film for me is I just didn't find it to be all that entertaining of a film to watch. It had some decent heist elements in it, like I said, but the film for me, it just never really got going. It never really picked up steam. It was a very so-so film to me. I wasn't entertained by it, but I wasn't bored by it. My reaction to this film for the entirety of it was just like, yeah, okay. Alright. And this being a heist film, they're going to have some twists and turns towards the end, and they have some in here. And there's one twist especially which they revealed, and I was like, okay, that's a twist. This particular twist was not a surprise whatsoever, given the title of the film and the promotional imagery for the film. I'm not going to say what it is in case you haven't seen the film yet, even though it's been out for 2 weeks in America, but if you haven't seen the film yet, no spoilers in here, but this particular twist, I was like, yeah, you've already told us that in the marketing for the film. And there's another twist at the end that didn't really have a lot of impact because it's something that happened off screen, and they didn't really hint towards doing it throughout the rest of the film beforehand, so it wasn't really that much of a big twist for me. You remember Ocean's 11 where you found out that the crew was playing the SWAT team who went in and they got the money out, and that's how they got the money out, and you're like, I see what you did there. That was clever. Did not have any reaction of the sort to any of the twists or anything really in Ocean's 8. In the end, Ocean's 8, like I said, was kind of so-so for me. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't boring, it was very watchable. The cast was great, they worked really well together, the heist elements that it had in there were decent and they were kind of interesting sometimes. The soundtrack was really good. I forgot to mention the soundtrack. Really cool, like jazzy kind of soundtrack like the other Ocean's films. But like I said, the film for me wasn't all that entertaining and it never really felt like it got going. If you liked all 3 of the original Ocean's films, you will like Ocean's 8. If you like me and you liked Ocean's 11 but not so much 12 and 13, you're going to like Ocean's 8 about as much as you like 12 and 13. If you didn't like any of the Ocean's films, then why would you watch this? You're not going to like it. So overall, because of the cast, the decent heist elements and the soundtrack, I will go 2.5 out of 5 for Ocean's 8.